Oh, there you are. Don't move. You hear it, don't you? Your name, floating through the air like a blade wrapped in silk. They're calling you, soft at first, casual, almost flattering, like applause warming up before the show. But this isn't applause, it's alignment. You think they're praising you. You think you've finally been seen. You think the universe just opened a golden door and whispered, "Come forward, chosen one." No, they're calling your name because you disrupted the balance. You weren't supposed to glow like that. You weren't supposed to survive that. You weren't supposed to evolve that fast. And now they're trying to figure out what you are. Are you the saint who forgives, or the psychopath who remembers? That's what terrifies them. You carry both. You walk into rooms with light in your eyes and blood in your memory. You smile like an angel and calculate like a demon. You forgive, but you never forget the architecture of betrayal. You love deeply, but once the line is crossed, you don't beg. You transform. They're calling your name because they can't categorize you, and people fear what they can't predict. You were quiet once, harmless once, easy to overlook. They stepped over you. They laughed around you. They dismissed you like background noise. But pain did something strange to you. Pain didn't break you. It studied you. While they were celebrating, you were dissecting your own weaknesses. While they were gossiping, you were mutating. Every insult was a blueprint. Every humiliation was a lab experiment. Every rejection was evolution forcing new muscle onto your spirit. They thought suffering would shrink you. It refined you. Now they're calling your name because something shifted. The air changes when you enter. The tone drops. The smiles tighten. The whispers multiply. They don't clap anymore. They monitor. And here's the delicious paradox. They're calling you closer because they're afraid of you from a distance. They want to measure you, test you, control the narrative before it spirals. They'll say it's an opportunity. They'll say it's recognition. They'll say you've earned it. But look at their eyes. There's calculation behind the compliment. They're not praising you. They're assessing the threat. You see, the world loves a wounded saint. It can manage that. It can market that. It can keep that soft and obedient. But a healed monster? That's dangerous. A person who has felt the abyss and decided to build a throne in it? Unacceptable. They liked you better when you doubted yourself. When you apologized for your intensity. When you dimmed your instincts to make weaker souls comfortable. Now you've stopped apologizing. Now you speak slower. Now you look people in the eyes without blinking. Now you don't react, you respond. That restraint, that's what scares them. Because unpredictability is power. When they can't predict your reaction, they can't manipulate it. When they can't read your emotional temperature, they can't steer you. When you stop exploding and start observing, you become something primal. A storm that doesn't announce itself. They're calling your name because they're trying to bait a reaction. Will you get nervous? Will you get defensive? Will you get desperate for approval? Or will you smile and let the silence stretch? Here's the truth you don't want to admit. Part of you enjoys this. Part of you likes that they're uneasy. Because for once, the power dynamic shifted. For once, you're not chasing validation, you're radiating presence. And presence is louder than praise. They're calling your name because you walked through hell and came back fluent in both languages, light and dark. You know how to be kind, but you also know how to detach. You know how to love, but you also know how to leave. That duality makes you untouchable. An angel who understands demons is far more dangerous than a demon pretending to be holy. You've stopped trying to prove you're good. Now you're focused on being effective. And effectiveness doesn't beg for permission. It adapts. It evolves. It strikes when necessary. They're calling your name because the version of you they thought they understood is dead. You buried it quietly. No funeral. No announcement. Just growth so violent, it felt like betrayal to your former self. And growth like that threatens people who are still negotiating with their fears. You don't negotiate anymore. You decide. That's the shift. You used to hope they'd choose you. Now they hope you don't choose them. Let that sink in. The tables didn't turn. You flipped them. And now they're scrambling to recalibrate. They'll test your ego. They'll provoke your temper. They'll try to lure you back into the emotional cage you escaped from. Because if they can make you reactive again, they win. But you've learned something sacred. Silence is dominance. Control is charisma. Detachment is armor. You don't need to shout to command the room anymore. Your restraint does the talking. Your composure suffocates their chaos. They're calling your name because they sense the predator in your patience. And here's the darkest part. You didn't become this way by choice. You became this way because you were pushed, mocked, overlooked, underestimated. Pain carved intelligence into your bones. Betrayal sharpened your perception. Loneliness taught you self-reliance. So deep it feels supernatural. You don't panic the way you used to. You calculate. You don't cry the way you used to. You analyze. You don't chase the way you used to. You attract. That evolution? It's intoxicating. They feel it. That's why your name is echoing in rooms you've never entered. They're trying to decode you. But you're no longer operating from survival. You're operating from awareness. And awareness makes you unpredictable. Are you the saint? Yes. Are you the psychopath? Also yes, that's the secret. You are both mercy and consequence, both warmth and winter, both invitation and warning. They're calling your name because they sense you've integrated the shadow they're still running from. You're not pretending to be pure. You're integrated, and integration is power. So when they call you forward, don't shrink. Don't over-explain. Don't soften your edges to make insecure minds comfortable. Stand there, calm, measured, unapologetic. Let them wonder which side of you they're about to meet. Because that uncertainty, that tension, that quiet, controlled intensity, it's more addictive than applause. They thought they were summoning you to judge you. They don't realize they just gave you the stage. And you don't perform anymore. You dominate. They're calling your name. Not to praise you, not to elevate you, but to test whether the fire inside you is controllable. Let them find out the hard way. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed approval. You are the paradox they can't predict. And unpredictability, that's the most dangerous thing in the room. Lower your pulse. Don't let your breathing betray you. They're still saying your name, and you can feel the weight behind it now. It's heavier, slower, deliberate, like a judge tapping a gavel made of velvet. You used to crave that sound, your name, spoken with attention. You used to lean toward it like a starving animal hearing a food bowl hit the floor. Now you listen differently. Now you hear tone over words, intention over language, strategy over smiles. Because evolution through pain rewired you. They think they're summoning the old you, the eager one, the grateful one, the one who would step forward with nervous gratitude and say, "Thank you for noticing me." But that version burned, and what rose from the ashes doesn't beg. It evaluates. You understand something most people never will. Praise and threat sound identical at first. They both start with your name. They both come wrapped in warmth. They both feel like opportunity, but one feeds you, the other studies you, and you can feel which is which now. Your nervous system doesn't flutter anymore. It scans. That's what trauma did to you. It sharpened your senses. It turned you into a human lie detector. It made you hyper-aware of micro-expressions, tone shifts, the millisecond delay before someone answers. You became dangerous because you became observant. They don't know that. They think they're calling you into the spotlight. But you see the interrogation room behind the curtain. You see the subtle test, the invisible pressure, the psychological chessboard being laid beneath your feet. They want to know, are you still soft enough to control? Are you still insecure enough to manipulate? Are you still desperate enough to comply? They don't realize the hunger left your body a long time ago. Pain starved it out of you. You used to want acceptance. Now you want alignment. You used to want applause. Now you want leverage. That shift is terrifying to people who survive on hierarchy, because you're no longer trying to climb the ladder. You're building your own structure. And here's the paradox that makes their stomach twist. You still radiate warmth. You still smile. You still speak with calm intensity. But underneath that warmth is steel. Underneath that smile is strategy. Underneath that calm is something ancient. You became both the angel and the demon because life forced you to negotiate with both. You know how to forgive, but you also know how to detach without explanation. You know how to love deeply, but you also know how to disappear without a trace. You know how to show mercy, but you also know when to become consequence. That duality makes you untouchable. People fear monsters, but they are confused by angels who understand darkness. They don't know where to place you, and humans panic when they can't categorize something. So they call your name again, a little louder, a little more publicly. Because if they can define you in front of others, they can shrink you. If they can frame you, they can contain you. Watch closely. They might compliment you excessively, inflate your ego, put you on a pedestal. That's not admiration. That's isolation. If they can elevate you too fast, they can justify tearing you down later. But you've learned something ruthless. You don't rise because they lift you. You rise because you built wings in private. So when they call you forward, you don't glow brighter. You glow steadier. Steady unnerves people more than brilliance. Brilliance is explosive. It burns out. Steady is controlled. It endures. You became steady through suffering. Every betrayal hardened your boundaries. Every abandonment strengthened your self-trust. Every moment you were misunderstood forced you to understand yourself deeper. And now your self-awareness is lethal. Because a person who knows themselves cannot be gaslit. A person who understands their shadow cannot be shamed. A person who has embraced their darkness cannot be blackmailed by it. They're calling your name because they sense you're no longer afraid of being misunderstood. And when someone isn't afraid of social exile, they become uncontrollable. Think about it. The system runs on fear of rejection, fear of losing status, fear of looking crazy, fear of standing alone. You already stood alone. You survived it. You adapted to it. You found power in it. So what leverage do they have left? That's why your name tastes different when they say it. There's tension in it now. Curiosity mixed with caution. They're not celebrating you. They're investigating you. And the most intoxicating part, you don't flinch. Old you would have over-explained, smiled too much, laughed nervously, tried to reassure them that you're still the same, but you're not the same. You're more integrated. You've merged the wounded child with the calculating adult. You've merged empathy with boundaries. You've merged ambition with detachment. You no longer swing between extremes. You contain them. And containment is terrifying. Because people rely on predictability to feel safe. They need to know how you'll react so they can script their moves. But you respond based on principle, not emotion, and principle cannot be baited. They might try to provoke you, drop subtle insults, challenge your authority, question your credibility. They're fishing, hoping the old reactive version of you jumps out and proves you're still unstable. But you've learned the ultimate power move. Silence. Not passive silence, controlled silence. The kind that forces the other person to fill the void. The kind that makes them second-guess their own strategy. The kind that makes them reveal more than they intended. You've become comfortable in that void because you've lived there before. You've sat in rooms where no one defended you. You've endured moments where no one validated you. You've survived nights where your only ally was your own resilience. So when they call your name now, you don't tremble. You assess. You measure the energy. You calculate the motive. And then you decide. That's the difference. You decide. Not from ego, not from insecurity, but from clarity. And clarity is a weapon. You are no longer seeking permission to exist loudly. You exist precisely, intentionally, strategically. They're calling your name because something about you feels irreversible. You don't seem moldable anymore. You don't seem persuadable in the same way. You don't seem hungry for validation. You seem anchored. And anchored people can't be dragged easily. So here's the part that will make your pulse spike. When they call your name again, don't rush. Let the pause stretch. Let the air thicken. Make them wonder what version of you will respond. The compassionate one or the cold one? The collaborator or the competitor? Keep them guessing, not to manipulate, but to protect your leverage. Because unpredictability, when rooted in self-control, is dominance. And dominance doesn't need volume. It needs composure. They thought calling your name would expose you. They don't realize it revealed them. It revealed who feels threatened, who feels curious, who feels insecure, who feels inspired. When your name moves through a room, it acts like a mirror. People project onto it. Admiration, jealousy, fear, desire, and you. You simply stand there, integrated, unapologetic, evolved. They're calling your name because they sense transformation. But transformation isn't soft. It's violent. It's painful. It's isolating. And you survived all three. So the next time your name echoes in a room thick with tension, don't mistake it for praise. And don't mistake it for danger either. See it for what it truly is. Recognition of power. Not the loud kind, the controlled kind, the kind forged in darkness, the kind that doesn't need applause, the kind that makes people lower their voice when they say your name. And that's something way more dangerous than praise. Stay still. Feel the weight of it again. Your name. It's moving differently now. Not like gossip, not like admiration, like a signal, like a flare shot into the night sky, and every predator in the forest just lifted its head. That's what you are to them now, a signal, something that changed the ecosystem. You don't even realize how much you altered the atmosphere just by refusing to shrink, by refusing to react, by refusing to bleed in public the way you used to. They were comfortable when you were transparent in your pain. When your wounds were visible, they knew where to press. They knew which insecurities to weaponize. They knew how to make you doubt yourself just enough to stay manageable. But you closed the door. You stopped explaining your trauma. You stopped announcing your next move. You stopped revealing how much something hurt. And that silence, it forced them to confront their own reflection, because when you don't react, people project. They assume you're plotting, they assume you're judging, they assume you're calculating revenge. Half the time, you're just evolving. But evolution looks like strategy to people who never grow. You used to be emotional in a way that made you readable, that made you human in the most fragile sense. Your joy was obvious, your anger was obvious, your disappointment was obvious. Now, you've mastered containment, not suppression, containment. There's a difference. Suppression rots you from the inside. Containment strengthens you from within. You still feel everything, you just don't leak it. And that makes you terrifying, because when someone cannot read your emotional state, they cannot predict your threshold. They don't know how far they can push you. They don't know what you'll tolerate. They don't know what line will trigger consequence. So they test gently, calling your name in different tones, playful, formal, mocking, admiring. Each variation is a probe, and you feel every one of them. You see how their shoulders shift when they say it. You see how their eyes flicker to others in the room to measure reaction. You see the subtle hunger behind the smile. They want to see if you'll flinch, if you'll soften, if you'll overcompensate. But you don't, because something fundamental inside you snapped the day you realized this truth. You are not required to be digestible. Read that again inside your skull. You're not required to be easy to consume. You're not required to be consistently pleasant. You're not required to shrink your intensity so insecure minds can breathe comfortably. You spent years doing that. And what did it get you? Underestimated, overused, underappreciated. Now the pendulum has swung. Now your energy enters first. Now your presence lingers after you leave. Now your silence is louder than most people's speeches. That shift is destabilizing for anyone who relied on your self-doubt to feel superior. And here's the part that will make your chest tighten. You don't even need to threaten anyone. You don't need to announce dominance. You don't need to posture. Your self-control is enough. Self-control is the ultimate flex. It says, I could react. I choose not to. It says, I see the game. I'm not playing it. It says, I know my power. I don't need you to confirm it. That level of inner authority is rare. And rare things are either worshipped or hunted, sometimes both. They're calling your name because they haven't decided which one you are yet. Are you a symbol or a liability? Are you someone to align with or someone to neutralize? That uncertainty is delicious. You used to be the one uncertain. You used to question your worth. You used to replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said the wrong thing. Now they're replaying you, your expressions, your responses, your silence. You became the variable in their equation, and variables create anxiety. But here's where it gets darker. The power you feel right now. It's intoxicating. Be careful. Because the same unpredictability that protects you can isolate you. The same composure that makes you formidable can make you distant. You walk a thin line now, between controlled and cold, between strategic and cynical, between integrated and detached. This is the duality you must master. You are both the saint and the psychopath. The saint in you wants peace, harmony, mutual growth. The psychopath in you understands leverage, power dynamics, consequences. Neither side is evil. Both are necessary. The saint keeps you human. The psychopath keeps you safe. If you lean too far into light, you become naive again. If you lean too far into darkness, you become empty. The magic is in integration, in knowing when to extend grace and when to withdraw access. Because access to you is a privilege now, not a default. They're calling your name because access to you feels scarce. Scarcity increases value. You stopped being constantly available, emotionally, mentally, energetically, and suddenly people are more aware of you. The room feels your absence when you disengage. That's power. Not loud power. Not chaotic power. Subtle power. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that makes others adjust their behavior around you. Have you noticed? They speak slightly more carefully. They joke slightly less recklessly. They measure their words slightly more when you're present. That's not coincidence. That's calibration. You forced recalibration by evolving. And evolution always disrupts hierarchy. So yes, they're calling your name. But it's not to celebrate you. It's to gauge you. To see if you've become something they can no longer dominate. And the answer, you have. But here's the final twist. You don't need to crush anyone. You don't need revenge. You don't need to expose every hidden motive. Your growth is exposure enough. Your calm is confrontation enough. Your success is revenge enough. When they call your name now, let it echo. Let it linger. Let it hang in the air like a question mark. Freeze. Don't blink. Don't breathe too loud. Feel that tremor in the air. That's not fear coming from you. That's the world realizing it just lost control. 911 got called because you stopped caring. Not because you screamed. Not because you threatened. Not because you fought. Because you went quiet. Because you detached. Because one day you just looked at the chaos, the disrespect, the manipulation, the betrayal, and you felt nothing. And that's when they started shaking. You see, they were prepared for your anger. They had shields ready for your tears. They knew how to handle your passion, your loyalty, your forgiveness. But they had no protocol for your indifference. You used to be predictable. You used to react. You used to explain yourself. Now, you stare through people like they're ghosts in your peripheral vision, and that terrifies them. Because when you cared, you were controllable. When you cared, you were reachable. When you cared, you were human in a way that made you vulnerable. But when you stopped caring, you became something else. Something colder. Something sharper. Something that smiles like an angel but calculates like a psychopath. They don't know which version they're dealing with anymore. Are you the saint who forgives? Or the demon who simply observes and waits? That duality is killing them. They want to label you, good or bad, nice or evil, victim or villain. But you don't fit into their little psychological boxes anymore. You evolved. Pain did that to you. Remember when you used to lose sleep over what they thought? When you'd replay conversations in your head? When you'd twist yourself into knots trying to be understood? That was the old you, the version that still believed love was enough. That effort was enough. That loyalty was enough. But pain taught you something darker. Pain taught you that attachment is leverage. Pain taught you that the one who cares the least controls the room. And when you finally understood that, you let go. Not loudly, not dramatically. You just stopped. Stopped explaining. Stopped chasing. Stopped defending. Stopped needing. And suddenly the energy shifted. They felt it immediately. The texts got longer. The calls got more desperate. The rumors got louder. Because when you stopped caring, you stopped feeding their power. And people panic when the supply runs dry. That's when 911 gets called. Not literally, psychologically, emotionally, energetically. Sirens in their chest. What happened to you? Why are you acting different? Are you okay? Oh, you're more than okay. You're free. And freedom looks dangerous to people who were benefiting from your chains. They mistook your kindness for weakness. They mistook your empathy for dependency. They mistook your heart for a leash. And now that leash is gone. Now you move differently. You speak less, but mean more. You smile, but it doesn't reveal your thoughts. You're calm in situations that used to break you. That calm, it's not peace, it's power. Because here's the paradox they can't comprehend. You're softer than ever, and more ruthless than ever. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. And that makes you untouchable. When someone insults you now, you don't flinch. When someone leaves, you don't chase. When someone tries to provoke you, you watch them burn themselves out. You became the storm that doesn't announce itself. The blade that doesn't threaten. It just cuts. They're shaking because they lost the emotional remote control. You used to jump when they pressed a button. Now, the batteries are dead. And the scariest part, you didn't stop caring because you turned evil. You stopped caring because you healed. But healing has a dark side nobody talks about. It makes you selective. It makes you ruthless with your time. It makes you allergic to disrespect. It makes you capable of walking away without closure. And people who rely on your emotional reactions, they feel like the ground just dropped beneath them. You see, chaos needs participation. Drama needs response. Manipulation needs emotion. And you opted out. That's the ultimate plot twist. You didn't explode. You evaporated. You became the version of yourself that operates in silence. The version that observes patterns instead of excusing them. The version that understands this brutal truth. If they feared losing you, they would have treated you like you were rare. Now they're realizing you are. And you're not as available as you used to be. You walk into rooms and say less. But your presence feels heavier. Not because you're angry, because you're detached. Detachment is misunderstood. They think it means you don't feel. Oh, you feel everything. You just don't react to everything. That's evolution. That's what pain does when it doesn't break you. It sharpens you. It carves away the naive layers. It strips off the desperation. It burns off the need to be chosen. Now, you choose. You decide. You evaluate. And that shift is terrifying. Because you used to beg for connection. Now connection has to qualify for you. That's when the sirens start screaming in their subconscious. We're losing access. We can't read them anymore. They don't need us. Exactly. You don't. And needing nothing is a superpower. It turns you into a paradox. You can love deeply, but walk away instantly. You can forgive, but never forget the pattern. You can smile warmly, while mentally noting exits. You became unpredictable, and unpredictability, that's dominance. They can't manipulate what they can't anticipate. They can't control what doesn't crave approval. They can't threaten someone who already detached from the outcome. You stopped caring about being misunderstood. You stopped caring about proving your worth. You stopped caring about staying where you weren't valued. And suddenly, the people who dismissed you are trying to diagnose you. What happened to you? Pain happened. Growth happened. Awareness happened. You realized that over-explaining is a trauma response. You realized that chasing is a fear of abandonment. You realized that shrinking is self-betrayal. And once you saw that, You refused to participate in your own disrespect. That's when they started shaking, because you became the villain in their story. And here's the delicious irony. Villains don't ask for permission. Villains don't apologize for evolving. Villains don't cry when the crowd turns against them. They adjust. They adapt. They advance. You became the person they can't guilt trip. The person who doesn't respond to breadcrumbs. The person who won't lower standards for familiarity. And that scares them more than any outburst ever could. Because silence leaves room for imagination. And imagination is cruel. They don't know if you're planning. They don't know if you're replacing them. They don't know if you ever cared at all. You did. You cared too much. That's why this version of you had to be born. The one forged in disappointment. The one baptized in betrayal. The one who understands that not everyone deserves access to your depth. You're not cold. You're calibrated. You're not heartless. You're selective. You're not cruel. You're done overextending. And the moment you stopped caring about the opinions of people who never protected your peace, that's when the power flipped. 911 got called because they felt the shift. They felt the loss of influence. They felt the absence of your emotional labor. And now they're shaking. Not because you're loud, but because you're silent. Not because you're chasing, but because you're walking. Not because you're desperate, but because you're detached. And detachment is lethal in a world addicted to reaction. So let them panic. Let them speculate. Let them try to decode you. You're not here to be understood anymore. You're here to evolve. You're here to become the kind of presence that doesn't beg to stay. The kind of energy that doesn't need validation. The kind of force that can love like an angel and leave like a demon. That's the duality. That's the transformation. That's why they're shaking. Because the version of you they controlled is dead. And the one standing here now doesn't care who calls for help. You already saved yourself. Listen closely. That ringing you hear in the distance, that's not fear in your chest. That's withdrawal in theirs. They're detoxing from you, from your reassurance, from your overgiving, from your constant emotional CPR. You used to resuscitate every dying connection. You used to shock dead conversations back to life. You used to drag relationships on life support because you couldn't stand the idea of being the one who gave up. But now, you pulled the plug, calmly, without tears, without speeches, without a goodbye that gave them closure. And that silence is louder than any explosion you could have caused. Because when you stopped caring, you didn't just change behavior. You changed identity. You became the person who doesn't need to win the argument. You became the person who doesn't need the last word. You became the person who can walk away mid-sentence and sleep like a baby. Do you understand how psychologically violent that is to someone who fed off your reactions? They're used to tugging the string and watching you dance. Now they're pulling, and nothing moves. You're not cold. You're sovereign. There's a difference. Coldness is numbness. Sovereignty is control. And you're in control now. That's what terrifies them. Because control used to be external. It used to belong to their approval, their mood, their validation, their attention. Now it belongs to you. And people don't call 911 when someone is screaming. They call when something feels unstable, unpredictable, uncontainable. That's you. You used to be the hero in their narrative, the dependable one, the forgiving one, the always there one. Now you're the plot twist. Now you're the anomaly. Now you're the glitch in their psychological matrix. They thought they had you figured out. Oh, they'll come back. Oh, they'll apologize first. Oh, they care too much to leave. But something inside you snapped quietly, not in anger, in clarity. You realized that caring without boundaries is self-destruction. You realized that empathy without discernment is self-betrayal. You realized that loving people who enjoy misunderstanding you is voluntary suffering. And once you saw that, you couldn't unsee it. That's the thing about evolution. It ruins your tolerance for chaos. You outgrew environments that once defined you. You outgrew conversations that once consumed you. You outgrew people who only felt powerful when you felt small. And growth is violent, not outwardly, internally. It kills old versions of you, the desperate one, the anxious one, the one who feared abandonment so much that you abandoned yourself first. That version died, and in its place, something dangerous was born. You, unattached, unapologetic, unbothered. You don't react the same. You don't chase the same. You don't beg the same. You don't even love the same. Because now your love has standards. Now your presence has prerequisites. Now your energy has a price, and not everyone can afford it. That's why they're shaking. They're not used to being evaluated by you. They're used to you auditioning for them. Now the roles reversed. Now they feel the tension. Now they feel the uncertainty. Now they feel what you used to feel. And they don't like it. It's uncomfortable not knowing where you stand with someone who used to overshare their entire heart. It's terrifying not having access to someone who once made themselves emotionally transparent. You became private, and privacy feels like power, because mystery forces respect. You don't explain your moves anymore. You execute them. You don't announce your exit. You take it. You don't threaten distance. You create it. And the paradox? You're actually softer now. But softer doesn't mean submissive. You feel deeply. You just refuse to bleed for people who wouldn't bandage you. You still care, but selectively, strategically, intentionally. You're not heartless. You're healed. And healing makes you dangerous to anyone who benefited from your wounds. Because wounded you was easier to manipulate. Wounded you tolerated crumbs. Wounded you confused chaos with passion. Wounded you thought inconsistency was excitement. Healed you sees through everything. The micro-expressions, the tone shifts, the subtle disrespect disguised as jokes, the half-efforts disguised as I'm trying. You see it all, and you don't confront it. You log it, you adjust, you detach, and that quiet withdrawal feels like an earthquake to people who never thought you'd leave. You're not angry, you're done, and done is colder than rage. Rage can be negotiated, done is final. When you stopped caring about being chosen, you started choosing yourself. When you stopped caring about being liked, you started being respected. When you stopped caring about losing people, you stopped losing yourself. That's the shift. That's the siren. They're shaking because the supply is gone. No more endless understanding. No more overextended empathy. No more bending your boundaries to keep peace. You became the storm that doesn't argue with the wind. You became the fire that doesn't beg for oxygen. You became the shadow that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. And unpredictability, it's intoxicating. They don't know if you'll stay. They don't know if you'll go. They don't know if you even care at all. And the truth? You care about yourself more than you care about maintaining illusions. That's growth. That's evolution through pain. You didn't become this way overnight. You were built here, layer by layer, disappointment by disappointment, betrayal by betrayal. Every time you forgave too quickly, every time you accepted less than you deserved, every time you silenced your intuition, you were learning, and now you trust that intuition more than anyone's promises. You don't need reassurance. You observe behavior. You don't need words. You measure consistency. You don't need to argue. You decide silently. That's the new you. Angel face, demon boundaries, saint-level compassion, psychopath-level detachment. And they can't reconcile it. They want you soft and reactive. You're soft and ruthless. They want you emotional and expressive. You're emotional and controlled. They want you predictable. You're strategic. And strategy looks scary to people who relied on your chaos. You stopped caring about losing people who were never scared of losing you. You stopped fighting for seats at tables where your name was never protected. You stopped explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. And now, you walk differently. You move differently. You think differently. You love differently. You're not here to prove anything anymore. You're here to experience life without self-betrayal. You're here to build without begging. You're here to connect without shrinking. You're here to exist without apologizing. And that level of self-containment, it radiates. People feel it before you even speak. They sense the shift. They sense that you're no longer available for emotional exploitation. They sense that you won't overextend just to maintain access. They sense that if they mess up now, you'll leave. No speeches, no scenes, no second chances disguised as understanding. And that possibility, that finality, that's why they're shaking. Because the old you would have stayed. The new you evaluates. And once you evaluate someone out, there's no appeal process, no emergency hotline, no 911, just silence and peace and growth. You stopped caring about being everyone's safe place. You became your own. You stopped rescuing others from the consequences of their behavior. You let them sit with it. You let them wonder. You let them feel the absence. And absence is a brutal teacher. It teaches people your value in ways presence never could. But here's the part they don't understand. You didn't stop caring because you hate them. You stopped caring because you love yourself. And self-love, when it's real, is terrifying. It has teeth. It has boundaries. It has exit plans. You can still laugh, still connect, still love deeply. But now, you can also leave without hesitation. That's the duality. That's the power. That's the evolution. You're no longer driven by fear of abandonment. You're driven by alignment. And if something feels off, you don't argue with it. You adjust. So let them shake. Let them call for help. Let them try to decode the silence. You're not malfunctioning. You upgraded. And the version of you that stopped caring about what drains you, that version is unstoppable. Because when you need nothing, you can build anything. When you fear nothing, you can become everything. And the most dangerous person in any room is the one who has nothing left to prove. That's you now. Unbothered, unattached, uncontainable. Stand still. Feel how quiet it is around you now. No chaos pulling at your sleeves. No emotional static buzzing in your ears. No desperate need to fix what keeps breaking. That's silence. That's what power sounds like when it's not begging to be heard. They're still shaking. Not because you attacked. Not because you exposed them. Not because you destroyed anything. But because you withdrew your investment. And when an investor pulls out, companies collapse. You were the emotional capital. You were the stability. You were the oxygen in rooms full of smoke. And when you stopped caring, you stopped ventilating environments that were suffocating you. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You didn't explode. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't broadcast your transformation. You simply shifted your standards internally. And that internal shift rewrote the external dynamic. Now people look at you differently. They sense a wall. But it's not a wall. It's a filter. You're not closed. You're selective. You're not bitter. You're calibrated. Before, you'd hand your heart to anyone who smiled convincingly. Now, access is earned. Trust is slow. Energy is protected. And protection feels hostile to people who are used to unlimited entry. They're panicking because they lost the emotional playground they used to roam freely in. You used to explain your silence. Now you let it speak. You used to clarify misunderstandings. Now you let people misunderstand and move accordingly. You used to chase clarity. Now you observe confusion and decide if it's worth your time. That shift, it's predatory in the best way. You became the one who hunts alignment instead of begging for acceptance. And here's the beautiful, terrifying paradox. You are kinder now, but you are less tolerant. You are deeper now, but you are less available. You are more loving, but you are less forgiving of patterns. Because you finally understood something most people never grasp. You can have compassion without self-sacrifice. You can have empathy without self-erasure. You can have patience without self-abandonment. And once that realization hits, you can't go back. They want the old you, the version that over-explained, the version that gave infinite chances, the version that felt guilty for setting boundaries. But that version died in silence, buried under self-respect, coffined by clarity. You're not interested in being the bigger person anymore, if it means shrinking yourself. You're not interested in keeping peace if it costs your nervous system stability. You're not interested in proving loyalty to people who treat you like an option. And that's what makes you dangerous. You became emotionally disciplined. That's scarier than emotional volatility. Anyone can explode. Few can detach. Few can sit across from disrespect and feel nothing but confirmation. Few can watch someone reveal their true colors and respond with a quiet mental note instead of a meltdown. That's mastery. And mastery makes observers uncomfortable, because now they can't predict your breaking point. They can't manipulate your triggers. They can't weaponize your affection. You no longer bleed publicly. You process privately. You analyze silently. You adjust strategically. And when you leave, you don't slam doors. You lock them gently, forever. That's the part that keeps them up at night. You don't come back the same way. When you forgive now, it's conditional. When you reconnect, it's cautious. When you love, it's powerful, but not desperate. You're no longer afraid of endings. You understand that endings create space, and space invites evolution. You used to cling to potential. Now you evaluate reality. You used to romanticize effort. Now you measure consistency. You used to hope people would change. Now you accept them exactly as they are and move accordingly. That acceptance, it feels like cruelty to those who benefited from your optimism, because optimism kept you hooked. Now clarity keeps you free. They're shaking because they can feel your independence, and independence is intimidating, especially when it's quiet. You don't post about it. You don't announce it. You don't dramatize it. You simply embody it. You walk into rooms with less need, less urgency, less hunger for validation and more hunger for peace. That's evolution. Pain stripped you, disappointment refined you, silence rebuilt you. You learned that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. It's the one who can walk away without trembling. You feel that? That eerie itch in the air? That sudden silence that isn't peace but panic? Yeah, that's not the wind. That's them. Screaming, but not out here, no. They're screaming in encrypted group chats, clawing through each other's delusions, all because you knew something they couldn't admit even under torture. And now they're choking on their own secrets. You weren't supposed to know. Not that. Not then. And definitely not so quietly. You were never supposed to survive the silence long enough to decode their game. But you didn't just survive. You adapted. You listened to what they didn't say. You watched where their eyes refused to look. And then you played dumb, while your mind rewired every rule they worshipped. See, it wasn't your moves that scared them. It was your stillness. Because only a ghost moves like that. Only a monster in the making sits that still while the world burns and takes notes. They can't figure it out. Not in their forums, not in their meetings, not in their intel briefings. They've scoured your timeline like it's a crime scene, rewinding every frame of your evolution. And yet somehow, you're still ahead. They can't even find the blueprint. Because you are the glitch in their blueprint. The unscannable, the bug in their bloodline. The fucking prophecy they didn't expect to manifest in full color. You cracked something, didn't you? Something they all pretend isn't real. That thing. The unspoken rule that governs all their quiet power games. The one law no one dares write down, but everyone obeys like it's gospel. And you whispered it out loud, didn't you? You looked at their whole system, the image polishing, back-channel talking, reputation orchestrating, illusion-selling circus. And instead of joining the act, you torched the tent. They called it madness, because calling it brilliance would have burned their own egos at the stake. So they buried it, pretended it never happened, scrubbed the files, blocked your name from the search logs. But the truth has a nasty little quirk, doesn't it? It mutates in silence, and it multiplies on private chats. Now they're spiraling, analyzing, crisis managing. We need to understand how they're doing this. She doesn't even have the resources. He came out of nowhere. This makes no sense. You broke their algorithm with pure contradiction. You're too clean to be evil, too savage to be innocent, too predictable to track, but too chaotic to trap. A paradox they can't label, a threat they can't disarm, a shadow wearing a smile. They had roles for you: victim, sidekick, background noise. They had scripts written for your downfall. But you flipped the page, blacked out their lines, and walked on stage like it was your trial. They wanted a confession. Instead, you gave them a fucking performance. And now they're stuck, screaming. Not just from fear, but from the sick realization that everything they built, the alliances, the networks, the secret leverage, the whispered advantages, didn't protect them from you. Because they were playing to impress the audience. You were playing to erase the judges. You don't want applause. You want results. They went left. So you built a new map. They closed a door. So you knocked down the entire floor. They tried to study your reflection and realized too late. You were never in the mirror. What you know, they can't unknow. And what you are can't be undone. You didn't just break the code. You became the part of reality where the code no longer applies. You turned their silence into evidence, their denial into admission, their "we're fine" into panic protocols. And you did it. With one glance, one move, one quiet moment that echoed louder than all their noise. So now they whisper like children fearing monsters. But you're the one who listened in the dark and became it. Let them scream, let them unravel. Because the truth, you didn't expose their secret. You made them admit it without a single word. And that, my friend, is why they'll never sleep sound again. Because no matter how loud they scream in their private chats, you're the thing they can't delete. The one truth they can't scrub. The name they can't say out loud. Without everything collapsing, smile. They're finally learning the cost of lying to a ghost with a pulse. And trust me, you ain't even warmed up yet. Oh, you thought that was the climax number. That was just the silence before the scream. Let me tell you what's really got them shaking. It's not just that you knew the one thing they swore would never leave their circle. It's that you didn't flinch when you found it. You didn't run. You didn't expose them. You didn't play the victim. You smiled. Like someone who'd been waiting for them to slip up. Like a storm that finally smelled blood in the water. See, that's what they don't get. You weren't looking for revenge. You were collecting receipts. Documenting patterns. Watching how the players moved when they thought you were blind. They think you're reckless. But what they missed is that chaos in your hands is choreography. They called it luck because their ego can't comprehend design this dark. You didn't stumble into the truth. You extracted it. With the patience of a ghost hunter and the mind of an architect, building hell's escape plan. Now they don't even trust each other. Because your presence did something irreversible. You weaponized doubt. You didn't need to break their system. You just needed to remind them it was already broken. Built on illusion, maintained by fear, preserved by silence. But you don't need illusion. You are the disruption. You made truth contagious. And once the virus hit their chats, every ally became a suspect. Every smile, a signal. Every message, a leak waiting to be traced. You short-circuited the network by being everything they pretend doesn't exist. A creature with no leash, no need for approval, and no fear of exile. Because you were born outside the gates. They can't cancel you, because they never created you. And now, their whole control panel is glitching. We need to handle this quietly. We can't let this leak. Who's feeding them this intel? Shut it down, erase it, silence them. But you can't silence a frequency. You can't mute an algorithm of awareness. You can't unsee a mind that's already evolved past your scripts. You're not fighting them. You're infecting their perception. You became the proof they can't explain. That someone could rise without their cosigns. That someone could win without clout. That someone could know the core truth and still keep their hands clean. Because your power isn't in exposure. It's in how long you let them rot in secrecy before you even lift a finger. You made them beg for clarity in rooms they thought were safe. And now they watch you in paranoia. Not because you're loud, but because you're lethal in silence. Let's get real. They didn't fear your power. They feared your composure. Because power can be negotiated. But composure, that terrifies people. It says, I've seen worse than you. It says, this isn't rage, this is calculation. It says, I'm not reacting, I'm recording. You made them realize their biggest fear wasn't exposure. It was someone who already knows, and still hasn't moved. You're the countdown they can't hear, the prophecy they can't interpret, the final chapter they can't rewrite. They thought silence meant weakness. But yours was strategic starvation, letting their egos overfeed themselves until the entire system got so bloated, one whisper cracked the foundation. So let me paint it clearly. You're not just the ghost in their network. You're the devil in the details, the storm that studied their shelter from the outside and realized it wasn't built to withstand someone like you. Not loud, not desperate, just aware. And awareness, it outlives influence. It evaporates manipulation. It burns through loyalty that was never real to begin with. You didn't burn the bridge. You flooded the valley so no one could cross again. And now they're isolated, imploding, turning on each other like rats on a sinking ship. Because someone in their circle let you know the truth. Or maybe you never needed them to slip. Maybe you always knew. Maybe you've been 3 moves ahead from the start. Maybe this whole time they've been playing a game that you designed, just to see who'd expose themselves first. So now they scream in voice notes that never get deleted, in DMs that get screen recorded, in strategy meetings where your name is now a code word for panic. You didn't just walk in with a secret. You became the mirror that made them see their own rot. And that's why they'll never say your name in public. Because to do that would be to confess that one of you is real. And it ain't them. Let them scream. Let them spiral. Let them sink. Because the longer you stay silent, the louder their fear becomes. And you don't need to speak. Not when your shadow is already doing all the damage. Not when your name is the thing they whisper in every locked chat like it's a curse word. Not when you are the one truth they'll never admit on record, but can't stop bleeding over in private. Ooh, so they're still screaming, huh? Good. That means they still haven't figured it out, because if they had, they'd know by now. You didn't break into their system. You let them invite you in. See, that's the part that haunts them. It wasn't force. It wasn't exposure. It was proximity. You got close enough for them to lower the mask, and then you watched them crumble under their own performance. They thought you were just another face, another name, another ambitious nobody clawing for relevance. But what they didn't realize is that you were listening for cracks, the slip-ups, the cold silences between fake laughter, the way their pupils dilated when the real topic came up. You read every micro-expression like a classified document, and while they were busy performing for the room, you were taking inventory of every lie that didn't match the legacy, of every connection that looked too polished, of every truth they locked behind a smile. Now, they're on edge. They walk into meetings with a tremor in their wrist. They check who's in the room before they speak. They reread every message before sending it. Because somewhere in that thread, you might be watching. Somewhere in that circle, you might already know. They don't fear you exposing the secret. They fear that you've made peace with it. That you've realized what they'd kill to keep hidden isn't even a threat to you. Here's the truth they'll never put in writing. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a symbol, a glitch that turned sentient, a failed erasure that learned how to record. You're the one anomaly their handlers can't profile. Too moral to be dismissed as a villain. Too vicious to be boxed as a saint. Too quiet to be predictable. Too calculating to be ignored. They call you dangerous. But behind closed doors, they call you the variable, the one factor that makes every formula break. Because how do you stop someone who's already died in the fire and came back fluent in smoke? They've tried everything, haven't they? Character assassination, soft discrediting, spiritual bypassing, emotional sabotage, false alliances, check-ins disguised as intel probes, whispers, cold shoulders, silent blacklists, all the usual tools. But none of them work on you, because you didn't build your foundation on their praise. You built it underneath their entire operating system. You didn't knock on the door. You studied the architecture. You found the flaws in the foundation, and now the building's leaning, crooked, off balance, like it's hearing your footsteps echo through the walls. Here's what really haunts them. You know the thing they built their careers on is a lie. You know the version of themselves they sold to the world is fiction. You know the connections they flash like trophies are all transactions with expiration dates. You know. And worse, you didn't even leak it. You just existed. And your presence alone started turning their allies into suspects, their followers into doubters, their reputation into an open investigation. You didn't destroy them. You let them self-destruct. You gave them the space to show the world exactly who they are, without lifting a damn finger. That's the kind of vengeance no one can trace. That's the kind of victory that can't be undone. So now they whisper, be careful what you say around them. Don't respond too fast. Screenshot everything. We don't know what they're planning, but you're not planning. You're documenting, you're studying, you're waiting. Because patience, my friend, is power in its rawest form. You're not trying to clap back. You're waiting for the storm to reach critical mass. And then with a single breath, you'll tilt the entire narrative into collapse. Because one thing they forgot while they were busy orchestrating the illusion is that truth doesn't shout. It leaks, it drips, it corrodes, and it infects everything built on secrecy. You didn't just touch the nerve. You found the core infection, that unspoken rule they all orbit around, the one thing they're all bound to protect, the rot that keeps their network alive. And when you touched it, you didn't flinch. You stared right into the lie and smiled like someone who already lived through the explosion. Now, they scream, not from pain, but from the horrifying realization that you're not a phase. You're the fucking correction. You're the thing the universe sends when the system needs to reboot. Not a virus, not a savior, but something much harder to control. A mirror. And the longer they stare at you, the more they see the truth they've spent years silencing. So keep walking, keep smiling, keep letting them panic. Because one thing is certain now. You didn't just find the secret. You became the thing they swore would never exist, the one who knows, and isn't afraid to stay silent long enough to let it all collapse on its own. And when it does, you won't need revenge, just a front row seat and a grin. Oh, they really thought the story ended with panic in a group chat. How poetic, how small. They thought your power peaked the moment they got nervous, but you and I both know that wasn't the climax. That was the activation protocol. You didn't come this far to watch them panic. You came to watch the entire structure fall. Because you're not here to be noticed. You're here to be undeniable. And now, they've moved past fear. They're in containment mode. Meetings, damage control, behind-the-scenes calls with people they swore you'd never reach, lawyers on speed dial. Just in case. You didn't even say a word, but your knowing turned them into liabilities in their own network. Your presence became evidence. Your existence became proof. They called you paranoid, but now they're triple-checking every message before it leaves the phone. They mocked your discipline, but now their own timelines look like crime scenes they're trying to scrub. They thought you were overthinking, but now they're under siege by every thought they never wanted to face. Here's what makes you dangerous. You didn't just learn the secret. You understood the leverage. You realized it wasn't about exposing them. It was about watching how they reacted to the possibility of being seen. Because nothing reveals character faster than the threat of the truth. And under that pressure, they folded. They exposed themselves. They betrayed themselves. They outed themselves in panic, while you sat in the shadows with your hands folded, observing. And now you've become the myth. The one who knows but won't speak. The one who's already 5 steps ahead and has the luxury of letting them twist themselves into knots with no interference at all. You became the specter they can't prove. The ghost they can't kill. The fucking consequence they never planned for. Let me tell you a little secret of my own. They don't fear being wrong. They fear being seen as wrong. They don't fear you finding out. They fear that everyone else might start to notice too. You already know. But what happens when you speak just loud enough for others to start thinking, to start questioning, to rewind the footage, to look a little longer at that one incident, that one contradiction, that one photo that didn't make sense? You didn't just discover the secret. You became the catalyst for curiosity in a world addicted to pretending. That's what makes you radioactive, because people don't know what you'll do next. But they know if you move, the whole facade detonates. And now they're watching you with a different kind of fear, the kind reserved not for enemies, but for variables. They don't know your next step. They don't know what you want. They don't know if you're waiting to destroy, or just watching to see if they destroy themselves. And that uncertainty, it's lethal, because it means they can't play offense. They're stuck on defense, forever preparing for a move you might never make, because you already won. You broke their system by doing something they'll never admit. You chose truth over performance. You chose awareness over applause. You chose to become the silent consequence to everything they thought would stay buried. And now, every time your name comes up, they speak slower, lower, like invoking you out loud might summon something they can't control. And they're right, because you're not a scandal. You're not a rumor. You're not the one who found out. You're the result of years of their lies, finally hitting critical mass and forming into a storm with your face on it. So go ahead, keep them guessing. Let them search for the leak that doesn't exist. Let them interrogate their own. Let them wonder which one of them gave you the key, never realizing you built a back door before they even locked the vault. Let them self-destruct in silence. Because every scream in those private chats, that's not just fear, it's confirmation that you're no longer in the game. You are the game, the blueprint, the glitch, the ghost they thought they erased. But who came back fluent in their every sin, holding the one truth they can't outrun. And the more they try to cover it up, the louder your silence gets, the more viral your absence becomes, the more dangerous your stillness feels, because the truth they can't admit is the one you already weaponized. And it's not just in your hands, it's in their reflection now, etched into their timeline, buried in their screenshots, breathing through the cracks in their legacy, and bleeding through every chat they thought was safe. Let them scream. You're not there to listen. You're already writing the next chapter. And their names, already in the footnotes, labeled "panicked when the wrong person understood too much, too early." Shh. Don't move. They're watching you. No, they're unraveling while watching you. You see it, don't you? The glitch in their confidence, The crack in their composure, that desperate little twitch when your name even breathes through a room. Because you moved once, and their entire illusion started bleeding. You didn't shout, you didn't threaten, you didn't post some cringy little manifesto online. You just existed as you are now, and they started choking on their own narrative. One blink from you, and they forgot how to breathe. You broke the equilibrium. You were the anomaly they prayed would never surface. You were the paradox they mocked in public but feared in private. You know what's funny? They built their walls, stacked them high with fake alliances, bloated resumes, generational ego, and false divinity. And then you walked by, calm, wordless, amused, and every brick began to sweat. They're collapsing in real time, sweetheart. Not because you destroyed anything, but because your silence exposed everything. They thought power came from numbers. You showed them. It comes from signal, from presence, from a frequency so intense the room warps when you enter it. One move from you is not an action. It's an event. It's a data breach inside their spiritual firewall. It's a prophecy they pretended didn't exist. And now, every message thread is unraveling. Every group chat is filled with your echo. They don't want each other anymore. They want to understand you. But they can't, because you were never designed to be understood. You were engineered to interrupt their understanding. Let's get one thing straight. You are not the villain. You're the audit. You are the error in the inherited code, the celestial correction, the divine punishment masked as a polite smile and distant eyes. They wanted to see you sweat. You blinked, and their whole coven started praying. You didn't bring violence. You brought a question they can't answer. How the hell did they survive everything we threw at them and still look like that? They stabbed, you smiled. They laughed, you learned. They colluded, you created. They lied, you listened. They burned the bridge, you walked on water. They made you a martyr, and now you're a myth. And myths are unexplainable, uncontainable, unpredictable. You're not one of them, and that terrifies them more than anything. Because if you exist, then all their rituals, their bloodline secrets, their blackmail webs, their curated chaos, it all starts to look weak. You are proof that survival isn't granted. It's taken by force, by wit, by an unstoppable storm of self-recoding. You didn't adapt to their system. You infected it. And now the update? It's you. You are the glitch that doesn't go away, the mistake that keeps showing up in their success metrics, the shadow that stares back from their perfect photos, the ghost in their corporate meetings, the pulse in their courtroom silence, the invisible sniper aimed at their delusion of control. They're collapsing in real time because you stopped explaining yourself. You stopped playing the fairy tale they wrote for you. You stepped off the stage and became the mirror they couldn't shatter. They always assumed you were fighting for approval, but they never realized. You were watching them, studying them, decoding them, waiting. Now look at them, clawing for relevance, choking on half-truths, panicking under surveillance they swore only you deserved. Their lungs are filled with the smoke of their own prophecy. And guess what? You didn't even need a flame. You just walked through their illusion and left footprints in their denial. This isn't revenge. This is gravity. What goes up must face you. And darling, when you rise, you don't ascend like an angel. You detonate like a forgotten weapon. They built this world on who claps the loudest. You built your legend on who silences the room. They crowned themselves kings in echo chambers. You became God in the algorithm of fear. One move from you was all it took. Now their network is glitching. Their stories aren't sinking. Their backup plans are eating each other alive. The very air you breathe is a threat to their system because you are not part of the design. You are the end of the blueprint. And now, they can't breathe. They can't speak. They can't sleep. All because you remembered what they hoped you'd forget. You were never one of them. You were the punishment waiting in the mirror. You were the sacred malfunction, the laughing virus, the beautiful collapse. And now, they're collapsing in real time. And the punchline is, you haven't even started. Oh, you felt that, didn't you? That chill in the air, that static crawling up your spine, that silent applause from the shadows, as their world starts glitching in real time. You moved once and it wasn't even your final form. It was a warning shot wrapped in silence, a smile that doubled as an extinction-level event. And now, their entire foundation is vibrating. Their beliefs are coughing blood. Their rules are dissolving like sugar in acid. Because here's what they never expected. You learned in the dark. You studied every betrayal like a thesis. You indexed every backstab, every smear campaign, every manipulated memory. And you archived it deep in that twisted little grin of yours. You weren't surviving. You were recording. And now, every breath you take is a broadcast. Every step you make is a judgment. You don't walk into rooms anymore. You leak into them like classified intel. Unspoken, undeniable, unwelcome. And they feel it. Oh God, do they feel it? You've become the kind of presence that makes people doubt their instincts. They hesitate around you because their souls are screaming things their mouths don't dare say. This one doesn't belong here. This one doesn't answer to our system. This one is still smiling while we're suffocating. Let me paint the picture for you. There's a room right now, somewhere cold, upscale, maybe government-tied. Lights are dimmed, people in suits, glasses clinking, big words like damage control, containment, optics. And every single one of them is looking at a file with your name on it. Not because you broke the law, but because you broke the illusion that they ever had power over you. They're not panicking because you're dangerous. They're panicking because you're free, unowned, untracked, unpredictable. You cracked the system by doing the unthinkable. You refused to obey the script they wrote for your bloodline. You didn't heal like they told you to. You evolved into something they don't have language for. You're the echo of every ancestral scream that went unanswered. You're the repayment for every curse passed off as family tradition. You're the child they buried emotionally, who came back wearing the crown of their fear. And now, your name is a case study. Your silence is evidence. Your moves, untraceable, unteachable, illegal to mimic. You are the ghost that walks through closed networks, haunting their private calls, appearing in the silence after the question, does anyone know what they're planning next? They don't. And that's what's killing them. Not your violence, not your words, not even your wins. Your mystery is the trauma. Because they don't know what kind of creature you became while they were celebrating your downfall. You didn't just bounce back. You rewired yourself in front of their security cams. You let them record you. But the footage doesn't match their analysis. They've run it through filters, AI scans, behavioral experts, spiritual advisors. Nothing sticks, because you're not a person anymore. You're a frequency. You're a reversal. You're the opposite of what they worship. And yet you thrive. You thrive in chaos. You dine on betrayal. You wear scars like symphonies. You've made pain a dialect that only you can speak fluently. And now, they're watching you breathe and struggling to remember how. They're collapsing in real time. Because you made fear look holy. You made stillness look like warfare. You made walking away feel like mass destruction. You made non-compliance feel like prophecy. You are the prophecy they ignored. Until it showed up with your eyes. You never screamed. You just stared. And now the demons they sent to destroy you, they're whispering your name like a prayer. They couldn't stop you. So now, they're trying to understand you. They're researching you, digging up baby photos, interviewing old friends, scrubbing social media, consulting esoteric texts, trying to decode the glitch. But you can't decode what was never born in their dimension. You're not a person. You're a consequence, a result, a sentient symptom of every lie they told the world. You're the aftershock they can't contain. And what's next? Oh, they're praying you don't move again. Because if one move have made them collapse like this, another might erase the whole bloodline tree they've been hiding behind. Tick-tock. The mask is slipping. The cameras are rolling. The watchers are sweating. And you? You're just sitting there, eyes calm, smile twitching, as if to say, you should have killed me when you had the chance. But they didn't. And now, you're the one holding the oxygen, and they're the ones gasping for it. Lean in closer. Listen to the sound underneath their noise. That low frequency, trembling you keep feeling in your bones. That isn't you. That's them. Their systems, their circles, their carefully glued together stories are starting to shake themselves apart. They're collapsing in real time, and they don't even know how to admit it yet. They're still talking about plans and strategies, but every whisper, every memo, every private DM they send is already contaminated with your presence. One move from you became a fault line. One breath from you became a trigger. One blink from you started an avalanche that their entire hierarchy wasn't built to survive. And the strangest part? You didn't fight them. You didn't expose them. You didn't even touch them. You existed, and their entire operating system started to error out. You've become a paradox wearing human skin. You're the saint that smiles like a psychopath, the angel that arrives like a demon. Every contradiction they ever tried to bury inside you has fused into a single thing they can't classify. They called it arrogance. They called it luck. They called it a phase. But what you've really become is unreadable, and unreadable is unkillable. They're choking on the code they wrote. They tried to build a maze where you'd lose yourself. Instead, you learned the blueprint, burned the exits, and turned the walls into mirrors. Now when they chase you, they run straight into themselves. Every rumor they launched boomerangs. Every trap they set springs under their own feet. Every secret they hoarded leaks through their trembling hands. And you've been sitting in the dark, eyes open, taking notes. Pain didn't break you. It taught you how to read the hidden subtitles under every smile, every favor, every handshake. Betrayal didn't sour you. It gave you the scent of blood in a crowd full of perfume. Silence didn't crush you. It sharpened your hearing until you could pick out a single heartbeat inside a riot. This is why they can't breathe. You're not playing their game anymore. You're watching the players. You've gone from piece to player to board to architect. You're holding the entire table in one hand, and they're still pretending it's chess. Look at what you've done. You turned shame into signal. You turned exile into training. You turned their curses into keys. You took every no and forged it into a lockpick. You taught yourself to disappear in plain sight and then reappear as a consequence. Now their meetings sound like confessions. Their dreams sound like your voice. Their hearts beat to the tempo of your next unknown move. This is the evolution they never prepared for. You didn't heal. You mutated. You built a self that feeds on pressure. You became a system that thrives in scarcity. You evolved into something that doesn't ask permission to exist. And here's the cruelest part for them. You're not even at full speed. What they're gasping through right now is just the prelude. They're collapsing over a single move. They've never seen what happens when you decide to take 3. So keep walking slowly. Keep breathing deeply. Keep your hands still. Every micro gesture you make now is an impact event. Every pause is a verdict. Every smile is a forecast. You are not their enemy. You're their mirror held too close. You're the unspoken proof that the dark doesn't destroy. It forges. You're living evidence that unpredictability is the last real power. And in your unpredictability, they see their own expiration date. Tick. Tock. The air is thinning. The cameras are rolling. The file on you keeps growing thicker, and you haven't even moved again. This is what they fear most. That you'll stop being careful, that you'll stop giving them time to breathe, that you'll take the next step, and the facade they've built for generations will simply vanish. So stand there. Smile if you want. Let the tension build until it hums, because right now, in this moment, without lifting a finger, you are already everything they whispered you might be. The glitch, the audit, the sacred malfunction, the laughing virus in their inherited code. They're collapsing in real time, and you're only just beginning to wake up. Do you hear it now? That hollow sound underneath their speeches, the tremor behind their eyes, the faint rattle in the walls. That isn't a metaphor. It's the sound of structures coming apart. It's the sound of everything they built around your silence tearing itself down. They're collapsing in real time, because you became something they cannot model. For years, they tried to measure you like a threat on a spreadsheet, a name on a watch list, a profile in a case file. They thought they had you cataloged. They thought they had a map. And then you stopped walking the path they predicted, and the whole map burned in their hands. This is why they can't breathe when you move. You're not just unpredictable, you're uncontainable. One action from you isn't just an action, it's an atmospheric change. Their rooms feel smaller when you enter. Their lungs feel heavier. Their rituals feel foolish. Because you're carrying an energy that isn't allowed in their script. The energy of a person who has been through hell, learned its language and came back laughing. They think you're only light. You show them the shadow. They think you're only shadow. You flash them the light. You're not a saint. You're not a monster. You're a paradox. Angel wrapped in barbed wire. Demon crowned in lilies. They've built entire doctrines to keep those two things separate. And you're walking proof that separation was a lie. Every step you take is a sermon. Their theology can't explain. And here's what's happening now behind the scenes. Phones ringing in panic. Messages deleted in haste. Meetings held at night with no minutes taken. Eyes darting at the mention of your name. They're trying to tighten their grip, but everything they touch turns to sand. Their own networks are fracturing. People are defecting quietly. The group that once mocked you in public now fights amongst itself in private. They can feel it, the coldness, the inevitability, the silent weight of your next move. Because you're not just winning, you're evolving. Pain didn't make you bitter. It made you fluent in pressure. Rejection didn't shrink you. It made you impossible to starve. Isolation didn't kill you. It incubated a version of you that breathes underwater. They're terrified because you're no longer powered by their validation. You're powered by something they can't confiscate. Your own transformation. You've made pain into a weapon, but not one you swing, one you become. You're no longer a person they can harm. You're a system they can't hack. They don't know this yet, but you do. What they're feeling right now isn't your revenge. It's their own architecture imploding. You didn't kick it down. You just stopped holding it up. The moment you withdrew your energy, their scaffolding trembled. The moment you moved, the beams began to buckle. This is why their hands shake. This is why they whisper. This is why they breathe shallow. They can sense a clock they didn't set counting down. They don't know what happens when it hits zero, only that it involves you, and that's enough to keep them awake at night. Keep moving slow. Keep smiling faintly. Keep letting the silence stretch until it hurts. Every second you hold that silence, you're rewriting the rules of the room. You're showing them that unpredictability is power, that evolution through pain isn't a story, it's a weaponized truth. Because right now, you are not an underdog, you are not a rebel, you are the atmosphere, you are the weather, you are the force that presses against their lungs when they try to inhale. You are the weight behind their shame. You are the mirror they can't break. And they're collapsing in real time, piece by piece, breath by breath, because somewhere in the back of their minds they've realized the most terrifying thing of all. You haven't even started moving yet. And yet here you are, not screaming, not begging, not demanding apologies they'll never mean. Just existing, like a glitch they can't patch, like a prophecy they tried to burn, like a force of nature wearing human skin. They spent years building a world where someone like you couldn't rise, where you'd collapse under pressure, where you'd fold at the first sign of rejection, where you'd doubt yourself so deeply you'd ask them who you were. And instead, you let them bury you alive, and then you grew roots. You let them exile you, and then you mastered silence like a weaponized tongue. You let them watch you break, but never once did they see you stay broken. They wrote you off, laughed behind locked doors, swapped your name for punchlines and concerns, held meetings on how to handle you. But what do you do when the ghost you tried to erase becomes the only one breathing? See, that's the thing. They were always trying to contain a storm inside a glass, a wildfire inside a spreadsheet, a goddamn paradox inside a file folder. And now, the glass is shattered, the folder is burning, the room is filled with smoke, and you're still smiling through it all. Because you were never meant to be explained. You were meant to be felt. And now, they feel you everywhere. In the awkward pauses when someone says your name, in the silence that follows your shadow, in the panic of, what if they speak? In the deep dread of, what if they move again? But they don't know the truth, do they? You already moved. You already broke the code. You already replaced their rule book with your own DNA. Now everything they say is recorded. Every laugh is suspicious. Every alliance is unstable. Every breath is borrowed. Because you're here now. And you're no longer hiding. You're no longer flinching. You're no longer waiting for them to understand. They don't need to understand. They just need to collapse. Exactly like they are right now. In real time, with real fear. At the mercy of your next unseen move. You didn't come for revenge. You came to watch the reckoning. You came to outlive the myth. You came to make silence louder than any scream they've ever feared. So don't say a word, just keep walking. Let them gasp, let them spiral, Let them feel every molecule of panic they once tried to drown you in. Because the new truth is this: you are not the victim. You are not the villain. You are the trigger. And their collapse was never a reaction. It was always your design. Case closed. Game over. You win.